Hey, Coach Ron here again with TriTipz and Wise Coaching, WIISE, coaching.com. Hey, do me a big favor. I could really use it. Like, subscribe, and also share these podcasts. Huge help to me. So, uh, building my coaching business, trying to spread the word. I think we've got some good information in these podcasts. So, share whenever possible. So, thank you. Today we're talking about hill repeats, particularly in particular run hill repeats, and the benefit to you, how to do them, and so on. They're a great tool for triathletes and runners, of course, and not really used all that much. And when they're used, they may not be used correctly. So let's get into it because I really do think there's something for you with this method of running. First of all, very simply, a hill repeat is when you run uphill. More times than not, they're done outdoors, but they can be done on a treadmill just as well. It's just my preference is to run them outdoors. And fortunately, I live in a location where we've got lots of hills. So all different lengths, all different grades. So I'm fortunate. Depending on where you live, you may not be quite as fortunate. So you'll have to take that into consideration. And if you don't have a lot of great hills, you may end up having to, really focus on using a treadmill. No problem. Generally, hill repeats are done, in like between a 5 and 15% grade. Anything steeper than 15%, I think you're really, multiplying the opportunity for injury. So keep that 5 to 15% in mind. And the pace can vary. A lot of times people will think about hill repeats have got to be done, full blast. You've got to be, just charging up the hill. Doesn't have to be that way at all. And I'll get into some examples here in a minute. Okay, so why would you do hill repeats? Actually, there's a lot of really good reasons for it, and I'll get into these briefly here in a second. But I really do think that they should be incorporated into your training plan. And let's start with the first one here, which is to improve strength. And improving strength is not just in your quads and your hamstrings and your calves. Of course, that's going to get stronger. But in addition to that, it'll help you with your core strength, and also help you long term with your ankle and foot strength. So um, just from a strength standpoint, they're amazing. They'll also help you improve your speed. Your body will create these adaptations when you mix up your training like this, and all the little additional muscles that you recruit when you're doing hill repeats can be called upon when you're doing your triathlon. So they'll help from that standpoint as well. Improve endurance. You wouldn't think that they would help endurance, but again, recruiting all those extra muscles will help you long term. Recruit those muscles. You can call on those as your race is progressing, and then improve your VO2 max and lactate threshold. I don't know if you ever look at YouTube and a guy by the name of Dr. Peter Attia, but he talks about uh, lifespan and health span, and he says that the primary indicator for having a healthy life later on in life, calls it your last decade, I think, or your marginal decade. In other words, the last decade of your life. He says the biggest indicator of health in that last decade is your VO2 max. So no matter what age you are, I'm 68, racing as a 69-year-old guy. Work on getting your VO2 max up, and hill repeats is a great way to do that. Few more reasons why hill repeats. This is a great one. Improve your form and your biomechanics. Um, the oftentimes we forget about our form. We just go out for a run and we don't think anything about it. That's not a good thing. We want to do drills. We want to do warm up. We want to do mobility and strength training. We want to do all of those things. it's hard to squeeze all of that in. But one of the things that you can do with hill repeats is improve your form and biomechanics while you're actually doing your workout. So maybe this will help you in terms of your forward lean. We talked about that in the running hacks video, which means, hopefully you can get your body, your torso over your feet slightly to get that forward lean so that you get a little bit of benefit from gravity when you run. The other one is stride length, and we see a lot of people with that are overstriding, that are striding, too long, which leads to the next problem, heel striking. But the long stride length is not great for your biomechanics, but it can also lead to injury as well. So a little bit shorter, quicker steps is going to help you, and running into the side of a hill is going to help you reduce your stride length and your turnover. And then heel strike is basically, when your heel hits the ground before the rest of your foot, which is essentially like putting on the brakes when your heel hits. So we want to get away from that. Heel repeats is a great way to overcome heel striking. And then, of course, it's great for when you run hilly courses. The more experience you get with running in hills, the better you will be running hills in your event. So that's the last of our why hill repeats. Hopefully that'll convince you to incorporate it into your workouts. Here are a few cautions with hill repeats. You really have to watch out for these because they can lead to problems if it's not done correctly. Uh, for example, calf and Achilles problems. I had chronic Achilles problems for over 10 years in both my right and left calves. So I can tell you that they're not fun. I wouldn't say that they were necessarily caused by hill repeats, but I can tell you that you can injure your calf and Achilles doing hill repeats if you don't do them correctly. So let's make sure we do them correctly and avoid those. The other thing are hamstring injuries. So let's do them correctly, and we'll talk about that. And the first thing is to get properly warmed up and properly stretched. My general rule of thumb with hill repeats is don't attempt them until you've got at least 1 mile of running under your belt. And that would include, some zone 2 running and probably like a minimum of 2 or 3 stride outs. What are stride outs? Essentially like a 30-second, quick run, not all out run, but a quicker run. Get warmed up. You want the muscles nice and loose before you get into your hill repeats. That again will help you avoid injury. Make sure you hold your form. If you're so tired going into your hill repeats, you're not going to hold good form. That again is an opportunity for injury. So be very careful. Make sure you're holding your form. If you can't hold your form, just stop. Don't do them. It's not worth it. And then the last one here is don't do them too frequently. This is one of those traps that we can fall into. It's sort of like going too hard or training too much. This is another one of those things that can lead to injury. It's a good thing that's done too much of a good thing. So you don't want to do these too frequently. I would say maybe 1 to 4 times a month. If you're younger, maybe if you're a little bit fitter, if you're confident, maybe twice a week, but that would be at the absolute most. I would never do running hill repeats more than twice a week. So keep that in mind. As always, I've got a few tips for you. These are our TriTipz. First of all, when you're doing hill repeats, you're probably going to do 2 or more. In the early numbers that you do, the first, second, third hill repeats, start out slowly. Don't just on the first one blast up the hill as fast as you possibly can. That's going to lead to injury. So start out a little bit slower and build throughout the intervals that you're doing with the hill repeats. Select a proper grade based on your objectives. So some of these are going to be, short and explosive, which I'll get into in a minute. Some are going to be longer and, more like zone 3 type runs. That's great. But if you're trying to do more of a zone 3 hill repeat that's going to be 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long, you don't want that one to be 15% grade. That's just way too much for that long of an interval. As I talked about before, use a treadmill. Don't hesitate to use the treadmill if that's the only thing you've got available to you. It's a great option. Rest and walk between the intervals. Obviously, you're not going to just keep going up a hill forever. But generally, what I'll do is run up to the top of the hill and then I'll jog back down. And I may actually take a rest when I'm down at the bottom of the hill before I attempt the next one. It depends on how I'm feeling. I mean, I can remember doing hill repeats in a town that's not far from here. And I love this one area because there were no cars, very few cyclists and walkers. So pretty much had that hill all to myself. And it was nice and long, so I could get a couple minute of hill repeats out of that. So I could go up as far as I wanted and turn back around. But a lot of times in the summertime, it'd be really hot. So I'd run up to the top and then I'd jog back down. When I got to the bottom, I'd, hit my thermos and hydrate well before I attempted the next one. I don't know if there's any benefit in doing them, one right after another. I don't think there is, but I wouldn't hesitate to take a little break in between each one. And then, as I mentioned just a second ago, adequately hydrate. Make sure that you're taking in enough fluids when you're doing this because you are putting, quite a strain on your body. So here are a couple examples of hill repeats, different lengths in time, 15, 30, 60 seconds, 3 minutes, and with varying grades. So this first one's a 15-second interval. And you'd be surprised how far you can get in 15 seconds on a hill. It really is kind of surprising. But so you need to pick a hill that's going to give you enough length so that you can get the whole repeat in. But you might do this at like 10% or 15% in zone 5. So almost all out. And keep the intervals shorter with these, maybe 2 to 4 intervals. This is going to help you with that real explosive, type of effort and help build the VO2 max. A 30-second interval, same kind of idea, but at a 5% zone 4 effort, you're going to do more of these, maybe 5 to 8 as an example. So this is going to help, help build the slow twitch as well as the fast twitch muscles. 60-second interval, maybe 5% again, zone 3, a little less intensity. You're going to do, more intervals. This is going to help you, when you're actually in your race. For example, what I did the race out in Palm Springs last year, we ran on a golf course, and there were some pretty good hills there. So having done some hill repeats before that, really helped prime the legs for those sort of efforts. And then a 3-minute interval at 10% grade, that's a good hard grade. So that's really going to help you build your endurance. And then I wouldn't attempt those anything more than zone 3, for example, and I wouldn't do a lot of them. So like 2 to 4 as an example. So I hope that helps. I hope that you'll incorporate those into your training because I really do think that they'll help you with your triathlon performance. And as a TriDot coach, I'd like to help you with your performance in triathlon as well. I've got over 40 years of racing and over 11 years of coaching, so I think I could probably help you out. And as I mentioned in my other videos, I got a 14-day free trial. That'll give you 2 weeks of TriDot and 2 weeks of personal training with me. No credit card needed. And the options range from $14.99 a month. That is right, $14.99 a month, up to $450 per month. And on the website, wiesecoaching.com, you'll see the difference in those plans. So Hope you'll consider that. Again, like, subscribe, share. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you at the races.